woke up in his bed to find himself transformed into a large insect. Horrified by Gregor's appearance, they all panicked. The father threw apples at Gregor, and one sank into his back and remained lodged there. And Gregor crept out of his bedroom to listen. Greta told her parents that they had to get rid of Gregor or they would all be ruined. Franz Kafka was a German-speaking Bohemian novelist and short story writer, widely regarded as one of the major figures of 20th-century literature. His work fuses elements of realism and the fantastic. It typically features isolated protagonists facing bizarre or surrealistic predicaments and incomprehensible socio-bureaucratic powers. It has been interpreted as exploring themes of alienation, existential anxiety, guilt, and absurdity. His best-known works include the short story, The Metamorphosis, and novels The Trial and the Castle. The term Kafkaesque has entered English to describe situations like those found in his writing. A book must be the axe for the frozen sea inside us. Now, let's get started. Gregor Samsa, a traveling salesman, woke up in his bed to find himself transformed into a large insect. He looked around his room, which appeared normal, and decided to go back to sleep to forget about what had happened. He attempted to roll over, only to discover that he could not due to his new body. He was stuck on his hard, convex back. He tried to scratch an itch on his stomach, but when he touched himself with one of his many new legs, he was disgusted. He reflected on how dreary life as a traveling salesman was and how he would quit if his parents and sister had not depended so much on his income. He turned to the clock and saw that he had overslept and missed his train to work. Gregor's mother knocked on the door, and when he answered her, Gregor found that his voice had changed. His family suspected that he might be ill, so they asked him to open the door, which he kept locked out of habit. He tried to get out of bed, but he couldn't maneuver his transformed body. While struggling to move, he heard his office manager come into the family's apartment to find out why Gregor had not shown up to work. He eventually rocked himself to the floor and called out that he would open the door momentarily. Through the door, the office manager warned Gregor of the consequences of missing work and hinted that Gregor's recent work had not been satisfactory. Gregor protested and told the office manager that he would be there shortly. Neither his family nor the office manager could understand what Gregor said, and they suspected that something might be seriously wrong with him. Gregor managed to unlock and open the door with his mouth, since he had no hands. He begged the office manager's forgiveness for his late start. Horrified by Gregor's appearance, they all panicked. His mother sank down to the floor, his father began to cry and the office manager bolted from the apartment. Gregor tried to catch up with the fleeing office manager, but his father drove him back into the bedroom with a cane and a rolled newspaper. Gregor injured himself squeezing back through the doorway, and his father slammed the door shut. Gregor, exhausted, fell asleep. Gregor woke and saw that his sister Greta put milk and bread in his room. Initially excited, he quickly discovered that he had no taste for milk, once one of his favorite foods. He settled himself under a couch and listened to the quiet apartment. The next morning, his sister Greta came in, saw that he had not touched the milk, and replaced it with rotting scraps, which Gregor happily ate. His food preference had changed. He didn't want to eat fresh food but worked up his appetite with rotting food. This began a routine in which his sister fed him and cleaned up while he hid under the couch, afraid that his appearance would frighten her. Gregor spent his time listening through the wall to his family members talking. They often discussed the difficult financial situation they found themselves in now that Gregor couldn't provide for them. Gregor also learned that his mother wanted to visit him, but his sister and father would not let her. Gregor grew more comfortable with his changed body. He began climbing the walls and ceiling for amusement, discovering Gregor's new pastime. Greta decided to remove some of the furniture to give Gregor more space. She and her mother began taking furniture away, but Gregor found their actions deeply distressing. He was concerned about removing those things because he might lose his material proofs that showed he was a human. He tried to save a picture on the wall of a woman wearing a fur hat, fur scarf, and a fur muff. Gregor's mother saw him hanging on the wall and passed out. Greta called out to Gregor, the first time anyone had spoken directly to him since his transformation. Gregor ran out of the room and into the kitchen. His father returned from his new job, and misunderstanding the situation, believed Gregor had tried to attack the mother. The father threw apples at Gregor, and one sank into his back and remained lodged there. Gregor managed to get back into his bedroom but was severely injured. Gregor's family began leaving the bedroom door open for a few hours each evening so he could watch them. He saw his family wearing down as a result of his transformation and their new poverty. Even Greta seemed to resent Gregor now, feeding him and cleaning up with a minimum of effort. The family replaced their maid with a cheap cleaning lady who tolerated Gregor's appearance and spoke to him occasionally. They also took on 3 boarders, requiring them to move excess furniture into Gregor's room, which distresses Gregor. One evening, Greta had been asked to play the violin for them, and Gregor crept out of his bedroom to listen. The boarders, who initially had seemed interested in Greta, grew bored with her performance, but Gregor was transfixed by it. One of the boarders spotted Gregor and they became alarmed. Gregor's father tried to shove the boarders back into their rooms. But the 3 men protested and announced that they would move out immediately without paying rent because of the disgusting conditions in the apartment. Greta told her parents that they had to get rid of Gregor or they would all be ruined. Her father agreed, wishing Gregor could understand them and would leave of his own accord. Gregor did in fact understood and slowly moved back to the bedroom. There, determined to rid his family of his presence, Gregor died. Upon discovering that Gregor was dead, the family felt a great sense of relief. The father kicked out the boarders and decided to fire the cleaning lady who had disposed of Gregor's body. The family took a trolley ride out to the countryside, during which they considered their finances. Months of spare living as a result of Gregor's condition had left them with substantial savings. They decided to move to a better apartment. Greta appeared to have her strength and beauty back, which led her parents to think about finding her a husband. I think we ought to read only the kind of books that wound or stab us. Please subscribe to my channel. We're gonna show you world masterpieces in about 15 minutes with manga. Manga is Japanese-style comics that is easy for everyone to understand. We're sure that you can grasp the context shortly.
See you next time.